We are going to jump right in because we have 2 hours, but boy, that time goes fast. I ran over a little bit on my last time, so I'm going to try to be on time this time. As mentioned, I'm Shay Hata. I'm a residential realtor from the Chicago area, and I'm going to be talking to you about 15 creative lead generation ideas, which is really hard right now with COVID, right? Some of our traditional lead generation methods either we can't do, we don't feel comfortable doing, our clients don't feel comfortable doing, so we have to get a little bit more creative right now with COVID. So to give you some quick background, I have been a realtor for 8 years. My husband has been in real estate for about 25 years. We actually just recently moved to Denver, as he is the CEO of the Denver Association of Realtors now. And so I am flying back and forth doing real estate in Chicago and living in Denver. So it's very interesting to do that during a pandemic. I have a 4-year-old who you can see on the right. I love animals. I donate a portion of each commission to local animal rescue groups and local schools. I am an Ivy League grad, and I was brought up by a single mom, and I went to public school. We did not have a lot of money. My mom couldn't afford to send me to college, and I was very fortunate to get a great education in our public school system and win a ton of scholarships so that I could afford to go to an Ivy League school. So I'm a big fan of public education. Up until recently, my team was myself and a buyer's agent, and then 4 part-time assistants. We've always done about 30 to 35 million a year, about 100 transactions a year. We recently added some additional team members since I'm going back and forth now. So now I have 2 buyer's agents and a listing specialist on my team in addition to myself. And so now we're at about 150 transactions a year. Our average price point is about 300,000 for the whole team. My individual price point is higher now. It's up around 700,000-800,000. I tend to handle the higher end clients now, and everybody else handles the rest of the clients. But we work with clients from 130,000 up to, we usually cap out about 2.5 million. So that's a little bit about my business in a nutshell. As mentioned, when we moved to Chicago 8 years ago, we moved from my husband's job because at the time he took a job with the National Association of Realtors. And so when we moved there, we didn't know Chicago at all. We had been there a couple of days to find a place to live, and that was it. We didn't know a single person. We didn't know how to get to Target. We knew nothing. And I jumped into real estate with both feet and was really able to grow from a business of knowing nobody to, within 3 years, doing upwards of 15 million a year. And that was really by getting creative with how I did lead generations, because I started off with knowing not a single person. And so I've really built my sphere up. All of my business now is referral based. So I always like to start off by talking about how I don't get leads. Okay. I think a lot of, when you talk to real estate coaches and things out there, they talk about, you should be buying leads and doing this, that, and the other thing. I tend to take a very different approach, and I think you have to do what you're comfortable with and what you're good at, and that will make you successful. So I do not buy leads through Zillow, Realtor.com, etc. I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that. I just think it's very expensive, and the conversion rate is incredibly low. Like if you talk to Zillow and stuff, their conversion rate is really like 2 to 3%. So for every 100 calls you get, maybe you'll convert 3 people, right? And if you look at the statistics, you have to respond to those people within 90 seconds now is the average, according to Zillow, in order to have a chance to convert those people, right? I don't have the bandwidth to respond to people in 90 seconds. And frankly, I don't want to respond to people in 90 seconds, right? I don't want to be tied to my phone. So if you have, the bandwidth to do that, more power to you. I just don't think that works for most people. I also have no interest in door knocking, calling expired, cold calling, working for sale by owners. I am an introvert. So like COVID is my jam. I don't have to leave my house. I don't think I have changed out of leggings in 6 months. Like that is the perfect scenario for me, right? I'm loving being able to do everything over Zoom with people. So the idea of having to, cold call somebody makes me want to stick a fork in my eye. Like that, I have no interest in that whatsoever. And I'm not good at it. Like it's awkward for me. I sound awkward. Like it's just not successful for me, right? I hate making small talk. I hate talking on the phone. I am never going to lead generate for 3 hours every morning. I don't think I spend a half an hour lead generating every day, right? I've kind of set my systems up to lead generate for me. I don't farm neighborhoods with postcards. That just doesn't work well in my market. And frankly, I think it's really expensive. And again, with not a lot of return on your investment. So I really started off by making a list of these are the things I know I don't want to do and I'm not going to be successful at. Okay. So then from there, I made a list of what do I like to do? Because obviously I have to do something to lead generate, right? I can't just sit at my desk and hope people appear on my doorstep and want me to help them with real estate. So for me, I like one-on-one. I'm very good with people one-on-one. I'm an introvert. So if I can sit down with one person and talk, that's great. I actually like loving on my sphere. I love giving gifts to people. I love, going out to brunch with one or two people, doing play dates with people's kids. So for me, I like creating that personal relationship in real estate. I feel like real estate is not transactional. And I think, oftentimes realtors say, well, we should be like attorneys and we should be like, lawyers and doctors and things like that. And I'm like, this is a very different relationship with your clients, in my opinion, if you're doing it correctly. It's a very emotional relationship. You're seeing people when they are very vulnerable buying houses, right? Especially if they're in a couple. There's a lot of couple dynamics going on there. You're finding out about their private finances, how they make decisions. You might be the very first person to find out that they're pregnant and having a baby. I've been the first person to find out they lost that baby. I mean, you get to know them at a very intimate time in their lives. And to me, that's a very different relationship from an attorney or a doctor, right? And so I like it to be a very personal relationship, not a transactional relationship. So I always tell my clients, like, once the transaction ends, you're not getting rid of me, right? Like, I am now your friend for life, and you're going to be hearing from me regularly. And I do invite them. Before COVID, pretty much every Sunday, I invited clients over to my house for brunch. My husband would cook brunch. They would come over and hang out. If they had kids, they'd bring their kids. We'd have a play date with my child. If they didn't have kids, we'd go out for dinner and do double dates. I really think of them as my friends, not all of them, right? Because all of us have had a couple of transactions where the transaction ends, and once it's done, we're like, see ya, Billy. I don't ever want to see you again. Please don't call me, right? We've all had those. But I think in general, most of the time we like our clients, right? And you want that relationship to continue with them. When my husband and I got married a couple of years ago, or at this point, 12, 11 years ago, when we got married in Hawaii, he was a realtor at the time. And we thought, 10 people would come of our family. We ended up having 75 guests, and probably 60 of them were his past clients. So both he and I have that similar philosophy that our clients are going to become our family and our friends. So we're going to talk about kind of how to create those personal relationships. We're going to talk about unique lead generation strategies, how I do client events and how I'm doing them during COVID, because obviously that looks different, how I treat clients like gold, because to me, it's much easier to get business from a past client than it is to go out and get a new client. I think in general in real estate, you have to respond immediately to people. Even if that's just, hey, I got your email, I'll respond tonight, I'm busy right now. People just want to be acknowledged, and they want to know that you know your stuff. When I got into real estate, I hired an inspector and I followed him around for months so I could learn housing inside and out. So I tell my clients, I'm not an inspector, but when we go in for showings, I'm going to probably be able to point out a lot of things that are going to make you think potentially twice about this property and have a better sense of what you're getting into. And really demonstrate your real estate knowledge and demonstrate that real estate is hard. Nothing irks me more these days than going online on Facebook and seeing realtors posts where they go, I sold this house in one day for 105% of asking price, right? We do it such a disservice to ourselves because we make real estate look so easy, and HGTV and all these real estate shows, $1 Million Listing, make real estate look so easy. And we know that is not the truth, right? In order to get that property to have multiple offers, you might have spent 20 hours getting painters in to fix it up, making sure it was priced correctly, really working on the marketing, getting flowers to put out up front, right? Talk about that stuff. Talk about all the hard work that went into your success. Don't make it look easy, because real estate is not hard. It's not easy. It's really hard. Okay. So my current lead generation strategy, this is going to be a little bit different from you guys just because your market is still hotter than our market is. Our market's really started to slow down in the past year, even pre-COVID. And so we're not seeing as many multiple offers and stuff like that. So every year I take a look at our market and I forecast, what do I think it's going to do the next year? And I start to move my strategy towards that. So for the past year, I've been focused more on getting buyers, right? Because our market is changing. So take a look at your market and see if it's a hot market right now, do you think it's going to be hot next year? If so, keep focusing on sellers. If you don't think it's going to be hot next year and you think it's going to cool, start to shift towards getting more buyers instead, because they might be a golden ticket in a down economy if that's what you believe is coming, which is what I believe is coming. So take a look at where your business is every year and be ready to pivot at all times. So I went over the same slide in my morning presentation, so apologies for those who are hearing it again, but I always get questions on how do I afford the things that I'm going to talk about today, because I'm going to talk about spending money on past clients, on gifts and events and things like that. Couple of tips, you know, don't spend money on shiny new objects. As realtors, we tend to get very distracted by all the new tech that comes out. I've had the same CRM for 4 years. I've had the same website for 8 years. You know, find a tool that works for you and solves a need you have in your business and use it. Don't keep switching from one website to another brokerage, another technology. Just pick something, use it. Nothing is going to be perfect. So find something that solves 75% of your problems and stick with it. Start spending your money on your past clients. You know, I do a lot of coaching of real estate clients, and it's shocking to me. People spend thousands of dollars a month on online lead generation and nothing on their past clients. And that's so backwards to me, right? I spend all of my money on my past clients. And because of that, my business has grown tremendously. I'm up 160% this year. That's not my team. That's my own business personally, because I spend all of my time focusing on past clients and they give me a ton of referral business because of that. Start partnering with your vendors. You know, look at your vendors and see if they can participate in your events. Whenever we do an event, we always come out each fall with our event calendar for the following year. And then we send it out to our vendor partners. So our real estate attorneys we work with, our inspectors, our home insurance people, our home warranty people, our lenders, and we say, look, this is our event calendar for the year. We're going to take 2 sponsors per event. Who would like to sponsor them? And usually our sponsorships fill up within about a day, and I'm able to cut my costs for those events in thirds, so I'm able to do 3 times the amount of events. So really look at involving your vendors that you're giving a lot of business to. It's a win-win. You keep your costs low, you're help growing your business and their business. And make sure you negotiate. I don't pay full price for anything, you know, whether it's an event, a gift, etc. We are in the negotiation business, so put that to use for yourself and involve clients who own businesses. For instance, whenever we do any of our events, we always have a professional photographer there, and that's a past client of mine who has a photography business. It's a win-win. She gives me a good price, and I help grow her photography business by introducing her to a lot of new potential clients. You know, so at the end of the day, I think you need to think about stop buying leads, start earning them, and you need to look at what is free and what you're good at. Because if you're not good at it and you don't like doing it, you're not going to do it every day. You're going to say, oh, I'll make 10 cold calls this week, and it's going to be 6 months later and you won't have made any of them because you don't want to do it. So it has to be something when you get up every morning, you're comfortable doing that lead generation thing so that you'll do it regularly. Okay. So these are some of the creative lead generation tactics that we're going to go over. So let's jump in. So open houses, everybody always rolls their eyes when I say open houses. I actually love open houses. Now with COVID, you're going to have to decide if you're comfortable with them or not. Okay. That's going to vary person to person. I find them very effective for me. In general, I close 1 deal from every open house that I work. So for me, you know, if I'm making $15,000 on average from a deal, that 2 hours that I spent doing that open house is incredibly effective use of my time. Okay. So when I was a newer agent, I did open houses every Saturday and Sunday, even though Sundays were really only common in my market. I was like, I don't care. I'm going to do them on Saturdays too. I want to get as many clients as I can. And I actually found I had really good attendance on Saturdays because most people didn't do them then. So I actually would do 4 open houses a weekend. I did 11 to 1, 2 to 4, both days on Saturdays and Sundays. And that's exclusively how I grew my business because I didn't know anybody. What I learned from doing open houses is I've never had somebody after an open house call me and say, hey, I thought you were great. I want to work with you. That's not how it works, right? You have to go after the business and you have to be smart about how you do it. So don't follow people around the property. Build trust at the beginning. When people come in the door, I welcome them to the property. I give them a quick spiel. And then I literally say to them, I am not going to be that creepy, weird realtor who follows you around the property. I'm going to be here at the front door. I've told you about the house. Take a look around. If you have questions, you know where to find me. Otherwise, I'm going to leave you on your own. I just bought a house. I didn't like it when I was followed around at open houses. So I'm not going to do that to you either. And usually I get a laugh out of people about that. And it's true, right? We don't want to be followed around. And that's what most realtors do. So just leave them alone. In order to do that though, you need to make sure that the property is prepped, right? You need to make sure that the sellers have taken out anything of value that can be stolen so that you can leave these people wandering around on their own. So when I was a new agent, I didn't have any listings. So I went to my managing broker and said, look, I really want to do open houses. Can you introduce me to other busy agents in the office who maybe don't have time to sit their own open houses? I'd like to sit them for them. And I got a regular list of about 4 or 5 agents. I would email them every Monday morning and say, hey, do you have any new listings coming on this week that I can sit for you? And I would make sure they talk to their sellers to remove any valuables from the house so that I didn't have to worry about things being stolen, okay? I also learned it's better to have people sign out than sign in. And I very quickly learned that it was not effective to have people use a pen and a piece of paper because you can't read what they wrote, and half the time they don't give you accurate information. So I like using a tablet and a program such as Open Home Pro or Spacio, because I find people don't think about typing their email address in because we're so used to doing it a million times a day that people just automatically type it in, and you can actually read what they said. So with COVID, I would make a big deal out of wiping it down before asking them to sign out, and then as soon as they're done wiping it down again so they feel comfortable doing that. And COVID's a perfect excuse for asking them to sign out. Just say, for contract tracing reasons, we need to have you sign out so we can get a hold of you if need be. You won't have a single person, at least I have found so far, object to that. And what I really try to do at open houses is just connect with them, find out what they're looking for. Is it this type of property, this type of neighborhood? I don't care if they buy this house. I just want to know what they're looking for. And so then as soon as they leave, what I like about Open Home Pro is I can put notes in there. So I can say that was the guy with the green shirt and his wife with the red shirt. They have 2 kids. You know, they're not looking really in this neighborhood. They really want to be in X neighborhood, this price point, this number of bedrooms and bathrooms. And then here's where most realtors drop the ball. They don't do anything after the open house, right? They expect the business to come to them. So instead, what I did was the next business day, I would assume that that person was my real estate client, okay? I didn't ask them if they had a realtor because frankly, I don't want to know. So I'd go home and I would go, gosh, they're my new client, they're my new best friend, whether they know it or not, and I'm setting them up on an MLS search. So I would set them up on an MLS search and I would say, hey, you know, I don't know if 123 Main Street was the right fit for you. If it was, I'd love to write an offer up for you or take you for a second showing. If it wasn't, here are 7 other properties that I thought might be a good fit for you. And I would send those to them. And I would say, each day going forward, I'm going to send you other properties that I think might be a good fit. If they're not, you know, if this isn't quite what you're looking for, let me know and I will tweak your MLS search. And then I would also explain to them that I was going to look for pocket listings or secret listings is what I would call them, and start sending those. And I explained that they don't have access to those. They're not on Zillow and Realtor.com, etc. And so one of the benefits of working with me is I can get them access to those secret listings. You know, so you just have to, you know, if pocket listings are allowed in your area, that's a good hook to kind of get them in. At the same time, then I would start them on my RealVolve campaign. So RealVolve is the CRM that I use, and I have a prospective buyer campaign for people I meet at open houses on it. And I send them emails once a week for the first month and then monthly after that, because you have to understand most people who come to open houses are not ready to buy that day. They're often starting to look 6 to 9 months in advance of them actually being ready to search. So you need to have some way to stay in contact with them over that time period so that you're front and center when they are ready to buy. And actually, the very first thing that I send them is something that Dirk mentioned. I send them an email that says free money for first-time home buyers. And it talks about free programs the state of Illinois has for first-time home buyers and how they can get down payment assistance and other things like that. That email has the highest open rate of all of my emails. It's like a 92% open rate. So that's a good hook to get them, because who doesn't want free money when they're buying a home, right? So that would be, I would talk to Dirk, get more information about that, put that in your database and start sending an email out to that about that to anybody you meet at an open house or anywhere else. Then I would start to send them additional information about ways to improve their credit score, you know, just information that first-time home buyers need, right? So they're getting those emails regularly, and then they're also getting that MLS search. And usually what would happen is they would write back and they'd say, well, actually, I'm already working with a realtor. And I'd say, no problem, let me take you off the search. Or, you know, they would mark something as interested, and I would reach out to them and I would say, hey, I saw you mark 234 Main Street as interested. Can I show it to you on Thursday at 6? And they would write back and say, well, we're not actually ready to buy yet. And my response would always be like, no problem, that's great. I'm so glad we had a chance to meet now then, so that we can start to figure out what it is you want to buy when you're ready down the road. So let's keep this MLS search set up so you can start to get educated about the market. And then every month, I'm going to just send you some additional information to start to educate you about real estate in this area. And that way you can start to develop that relationship with them. And then sometimes they would say, yeah, that's great. Let's go out and see it. So I found by setting that MLS search up and just assuming that they were my client, it usually turned into reality. And sometimes I didn't hear from them for 6 months, and that was fine. That's when they were ready to buy. Find out if they are pre-approved. If they're not, then you can hook them up with a lender. But really the key is having a 2-year follow-up campaign, because most people at open houses are not ready to buy today. They need some time. So the second way that I really grew my business was creating a networking group. And please, as we go along, feel free to add questions in the chat box. I will try to answer them as we go. I would rather do that than answer questions at the very end. So just put those in there and I will make sure I am checking them. Somebody said, is your prospective homebuyer drip different for first-time homebuyers and experienced homebuyers? Mine is not, but if I were going to do it all over again, I think that that would be a great thing to set up for them. Part of me, though, feels like unless they are investors and they're buying regularly, I almost treat everybody like a first-time homebuyer, because typically they're not buying again for another 5 or 7 years, and they don't remember what that process was like 7 years ago. So I kind of think in some ways you have to treat everybody like a first-time homebuyer, because you also don't know if their agent educated them at all during the first time they bought a property. They may be coming to you with misinformation, zero information. So really, I think I probably would just treat everybody the same. All right, somebody asked, what do my sponsors contribute? They pay 1/3 of the cost. So we split all the costs evenly. So when I send that email out, I will let them know that I think that the cost is going to be about X amount of money. And so their portion is going to be, say, $700. And that's what I asked them to commit to, so that we're all paying 1/3. So we're following RESPA and we're not getting in any trouble. What vendor do I use for my dog poop bag giveaways? Honestly, I don't remember. I get this question all the time. We bought like 1,000 of them when we ordered them. If you go online and just search for, personalized or brandable dog poop bag holders, you can find them anywhere online. I think I pay about $1 a bag. All right. So then networking group. So I decided that even though it's out of my comfort zone, I wanted to join some sort of a networking group. So I started looking around, and, like if you try to find like a BNI, they're so hard to get into because almost all of them have been started by a realtor, or they already have a realtor on them, right? So what I decided to do was just start my own networking group, okay? So before COVID, we would meet every other month for lunch, and it was a $250 buy-in just to cover the cost of catering. Now with COVID, we're not meeting in person anymore. We're just doing it online via Zoom, so there's no cost. Everybody brings their lunch and we do it via Zoom. So what I did was I decided that I really wanted people who were going to be present during major life changes, what I call milestone moments, because I find that's often when people's housing needs change, right? So when they're getting married, when they're getting a divorce, when they're having a baby, when they've had a death in the family, when they have a job change, okay? Those are the 5 milestone moments that I find impact their housing needs the most. So I wanted to find people who were present and able to give advice during those milestone moments. So I made a list of basically 25 industries. So divorce attorney, okay? That's a great referral source for me. Lender, obviously. Financial planner, CPA, accountant, marriage therapist, marriage mediator, all of those kinds of things. So make a list of all of those people. And then I went through and tried to find anybody who I knew was in that business who was a good connector, right? They have to be a person who's willing to make introductions to other people. And I really only knew about 5 people in those industries. But I went to those 5 and I said, look, I want to make this networking group. Here's the idea behind it. Would you be interested in joining? And half of them said yes, half of them said no. So then we said, okay, great. Let's make a list of all the industries that would be helpful for you all as well. Let's combine our lists. And then hopefully between the, 4 or 5 of us, we can come up with 25 different people that we know who would be a good fit. And so that's how we started our group. And it's been incredibly helpful. Last year, I closed about $10 million just for my networking group. And that was talking with them every other month for an hour and a half. So for that 9 hours of my time, it translated into 10 million in revenue. So to me, that's a no-brainer, right? Really easy to do. It's fun. You get together for lunch. And it is very structured. So when we get together, it's for an hour and a half. And it's 15 minutes of chit chat, and then we get down to business. Each person goes around and they ask for 3 referrals from the group. So it can be a personal referral, I need a plumber, I need a babysitter, or it can be a business referral. Everybody takes notes. We always meet on a Friday for lunch. And then by Sunday night, all of the referrals are due. And I found I had to put a deadline on it. Otherwise, people had the best of intentions, but they never actually gave out their referrals. So by Sunday night, they're due. They can introduce the people via email, text, I don't care, carrier pigeon, I don't care how they do it. They just have to introduce them. And the referral doesn't have to convert. That's my job to convert the referral, but they have to give the introduction, okay? And they have to give out 12 referrals a year in order to stay in our group. So every time they give out a referral, they email my assistant so she can track and make sure they're giving out those 12 referrals. If they aren't, they're kicked out of the group. And then they also have to do one-on-one coffees once a year with everybody else in the group so they can deep dive into that person's business and learn more about it. So to me, this is a really easy way to grow your business. I always get questions about, well, what if you don't want to give the lender in the business group because you have a different lender? That's fine. That's why there's like 20 people in the group. So I just have to give out 12 referrals. Maybe I don't give any referrals to these 5 people and I give the referrals to these other people, right? The idea is there's enough people in the group for volume to occur. So I find it doesn't work if you only have 3 or 4 people in the group. You really need like 18 plus in order for it to be successful. So definitely give that a try. And right now, I find it's a great time to get one of those groups started because most people want more business right now. They're concerned about what's going to happen with their business with COVID. And so especially if they don't have to go anywhere and they can do it via Zoom, it's pretty easy for them to do. So the third thing that I did was I started to target the HR of small to medium companies because what I realized was that I like doing relocation deals, but I don't like paying 42.5% of my commission to a relocation company. I love when a buyer comes in and they're in town for 1 weekend though, and they're ready to buy a house and then off they go and I don't have to see them again, right? That works really well for me. I like that kind of relationship. So what I wanted to find was small and medium-sized companies that weren't big enough to have relocation services, but occasionally needed them. They would occasionally have a client come in from out of town that needed a realtor and needed to, a tour of the town. So I went to basically my client list and I said, hey, look, I want to hook up with HR people. Would you be willing to introduce me to the HR person at your company? And your clients love you. So my clients were like, sure, I'd be happy to do that. I had a templated email I sent them and I said, just use this to introduce me to your HR person. I'd really appreciate it. And then with the HR person, I offered to tour prospective new hires around the area to get, because part of when they're doing recruiting, it's not just recruiting them to the company, it's making sure they want to move to Chicago, right? So I would kind of help them with that piece of it and explain why Chicago is a great place to live. And I would also rebate them a closing cost credit if they used me, because these small and medium-sized companies, typically they don't have a budget in HR to do anything like that. They can't offer relocation benefits. But I was able to basically allow them to offer relocation benefits by offering them a closing cost credit. And I would rather give 25% to that buyer and get the business than 42.5% to a relocation company. So to me, even though I'm having to give a credit, whatever credit you want to do, it still financially makes sense for me. I also then paired with a lender and he offered to do the same thing. So now, between the money that the lender's giving and I'm giving, that's a nice bonus that they're able to offer as a credit to that buyer. In exchange, I asked if I could hold lunch and learn type classes. So, now we're doing them online via Zoom. Otherwise, pre-COVID, we did them in person. We would bring pizza or whatever, and we would do classes, in their, lunchroom or whatever for first-time home buyers, how to build wealth, so you want to sell your home for the first time, whatever it may be. And then I would partner with different people to host those classes. So like if you want to buy a home class, I would partner with a mortgage lender and an insurance person, so you want to be a millionaire is our most popular class. I would partner with our financial planner and usually our mortgage lender and talk about home building as part of, your path to success. And that's, they're both millionaires, so they can kind of talk about how they've done that, et cetera. So these are, again, great ways to get your foot in the door with companies that doesn't really cost you anything other than a little bit of your time. So I think last year I closed 7 million from those classes. Then AdWorks. So I'm a huge fan of AdWorks. This is a really great, easy way that you can stay in front of your sphere, both past clients and prospective clients. So AdWorks is a retargeting program. So it's like if you go online to buy a pair of boots and you don't buy those boots, and now everywhere you go on the internet, those boots stalk you around the internet. You can do the same thing essentially to your clients with your picture, like I've got here on the screen. So this is our AdWorks ad. You put in email addresses for anyone who you want to stalk online, essentially. And then if the ad follows their email address. So it doesn't matter if they're on ESPN, CNN, Wall Street Journal, Fox News, etc. Wherever they're going online for information, your ad will pop up. Excuse me. The way that it works is they have the 3 different campaigns. So they have the Sphere campaign where it tracks emails. For that one, it's $79 a month, and you get 2,500 impressions per month. So essentially what we figured out was that we didn't want more than 500 people in our campaign, because we wanted those 500 people to be seeing our ad an average of 5 times a month. And what I found was that this is a great way, like if I get an email list for my child's school, I will take all those emails and put them in AdWorks. I don't want to email them because I feel like that's spam, but to me, it doesn't feel spammy to just have my ad show up wherever they're following, wherever they're looking for information online. So, you can put anybody in here who's a prospective person, somebody you meet at an open house, anybody's kind of fair game to go in here. Then you can also do ads by zip codes to farm areas. I don't do that because I don't farm by zip code, but if you do, that would be a great effective way to target all the people who live in that particular zip code. The third thing you can do with AdWorks is ads for listings. So I do this, it's $59 for 1 week. So anytime we have a new listing, we do an ad for that house and it advertises near that listing. You can also put your seller's email address in here, which is really cool. So now when your seller goes online, they can see that ad for their house wherever they're going. So it makes it look like you're advertising all over the internet, even though really you're just following their email address. Another great tool that we use for lead generation is Altos Research Reports. So this is $79 a month. This is a little bit more expensive. So if you're a new agent, I wouldn't do this. As a new agent, I would have a website, I would have a really good CRM like RealVolve, and I would do AdWorks. For more experienced agents who are making more money, then I think you can look at adding Altos Research Reports. With Altos Research Reports, they are very data heavy reports. So they're really good for your clients who are like engineers, actuaries, people who like a lot of data. They're 6-page reports. They come out once a week. And what I love is this little graphic on the first page. So anything above 30 on that graphic means it's a strong seller's market. Okay, you're probably getting multiple offers. If it's below a 30, that means it's a buyer's market, okay? And so you're probably gonna have time to do second showings. You might be able to lowball a little bit, etc. So we use these in a couple of different ways. These reports basically answer the question, what's going on with the market, okay? So we'll send them out to prospective buyers and sellers. Usually we send them out quarterly to them because they're a lot to get weekly, okay? If we have a client that's like actively on the market, a seller, then we send that to them weekly so that they can see weekly, is the market heating up or is it cooling down, okay? Same thing with our current buyers who are actively out looking for properties, because if they start their search and the market's at a 29, and 3 weeks later it's at a 33, then we know they're gonna not have time for second showings. It's gonna be multiple offers. They're gonna have to be prepared to go way over asking price, right? So this data backs up what you're seeing in the marketplace. And the way that it works is it's based on zip code. So you choose what report you want them to get based on the zip code that either they're selling a house in or they're looking in. And you choose whether you want them to get a single family report or a condo report. And then it basically takes your MLS data and breaks it down in this 6 different pages of very detailed information and graphs and things like that. What's cool about it is for a buyer, we know that oftentimes, they're looking in a lot of different zip codes. So they'll get this one report, but they can go in and type in other zip codes and they can see, the report for all the other zip codes. Okay, so it's a great tool. Some MLSs have something similar. So if yours does or your brokerage does, take a look at that. Obviously, it's better to use something that's free than to have to pay for it. So another great tool we use is HomeBot. So HomeBot essentially is your answer to the Zillow Zestimate, okay? So, excuse me, I'm not sure why I'm coughing at something in my throat. This report essentially answers the question of what is my home worth, okay? I hate when people go on to Zillow, they're just so inaccurate. at least in my marketplace. So with HomeBot, what we do is we set this up so that as soon as our client closes on a property, that day we go in and we set them up on HomeBot and we say what the date was that they closed and what their home, purchase price was on that house. And then it uses algorithms to check it. And I have found, at least in my marketplace, it's quite accurate. I tracked it for about a year on my own house and some properties I owned before I started working with clients. And usually it was only off by about $5,000. So this report comes out monthly to all of your clients. You can partner with a lender on this one. If you do, you get more kind of access to more features. It's not very expensive. It's only about $25 a month. So even for newer agents, it's more affordable. And usually it has some additional tips. So it'll have a money saving tip on here about, if you pay extra towards your mortgage each month, it'll pay off your loan this much faster. This month also had some information about how much you can Airbnb your property out for, etc. And one of the things I like about HomeBot is if they don't think that their value is correct, they can hit a little button and it will request a CMA for you. And what I have found interesting over the years is clients who are thinking about selling their property will start hitting that button like every month, wanting to know what their property is worth. And so it starts to give me an indication of who might be getting ready to sell and who I should start to focus my time and my attention on. And Dina in here said a lot of the title companies use Altos. So that's awesome. Reach out to your title company and see if they'll give it to you for free for you to use with your clients. Save yourself some money there. All right, so another place that I get a lot of leads from is Facebook, and I'm really not on Facebook. I don't post a ton on Facebook. I get them from Facebook groups. So last year I closed about $12 million in business just from Facebook groups, and I'll explain to you how I did that. So essentially what I looked for were large Facebook groups in my area where people were regularly asking for recommendations for things. I didn't care if they were asking for realtor recommendations. I was looking for groups where they're asking for pediatricians, summer camp classes for their kids, great dentists, dog groomers, pages like Nextdoor can be a great place in addition to Facebook, things like that. Because what I found was that at some point then people would ask for realtor recommendations. And so I joined these different groups. And then what I would do is I quickly realized when somebody did ask for a realtor recommendation in general, it was other realtors going on and recommending themselves. And instead, I felt it would be much more effective if my clients recommended me. So I joined all these groups. I went on, figured out which of my clients it would make sense to have in those groups, invited them to join the groups. And so now what happens is when I go on, if somebody asks for a recommendation, I'll text or private message my clients and say, hey, in Mama Tribe, somebody just asked for a realtor recommendation. Would you mind recommending me? And then they'll go on and recommend me, and I'll usually wait. I'll have like 5 or 6 recommendations, and then I'll go on and I'll go, oh my gosh, you guys, thank you so much. You're so sweet to recommend me, and then I'll say, I'd love to connect with that client. And so by doing that and by having the other people recommend me, I almost always get the business because I'm not recommending myself, right? So if these groups don't exist in your area, start one. I have a realtor in my area who started one called the Moms of Southport Corridor, and it's a little neighborhood. It's like maybe 10 blocks. It's not that big. And she is killing it. I mean, I think she probably closes 10, 15 million a year in business from that tiny little Facebook group because she is now the dominant realtor in that neighborhood, and everybody knows who she is because she's always giving out recommendations for plumbers and babysitters and painters and whatnot. And so it's been really an effective way for her to grow your business. So if it doesn't exist, start one in your area, ask your clients to join them, and make sure your clients are recommending you instead of you recommending yourself. So each night when I get on Facebook, I go to those groups and I type in realtor or real estate and I search for those rather than going to my wall, which you just get sucked in and you don't actually get anything productive done. The other thing I do on Facebook is I create a client list. So you can't do this on your phone. You can only do it on the computer. But if you're on Facebook, on the left-hand side of the screen, about halfway down, you might hit the more button. It says friend list on there. And if you click on that, you can create groups basically. So I have a client list. So I always friend all of my clients on Facebook. I tell them they have to be my friend because I want to make sure they're not saying anything stupid about our real estate search. And then I put them in that client list, and each day I monitor because what I'm looking for are indications of those major milestone groups. So if they announce they're pregnant, they're getting a divorce, they're having a job change. I know that's when their housing needs are often going to change, and I want to be in contact with them so that I am top of mind if they need a realtor. Okay. You can also do, targeted Facebook groups. There's somebody in my area that has a really popular one. So you want to buy an Airbnb, and she's killing it with that. You can do retargeting campaigns like AdWorks on Facebook as well. So there's a lot of different smart tools you can use on Facebook. So this is an example of Rebecca DeLuca, one of my clients, had posted in this group about, looking for a realtor. And I went on and I had all of these clients go on and recommend me, right? And then I went on and said, oh, I'd love to talk with you, et cetera. And I ended up getting that listing. It was a $1.2 million listing that literally took 30 minutes of my time. So again, it's a really good ROI. So check out Facebook groups. If you haven't, I find that's a much more effective way to get clients from Facebook. Also think about sending gifts for milestones. So if you see online that somebody posted that they're having a baby, then we have these onesies on the right-hand side that say, I got my crib from the Buy, Sell, Love Chicago team. And so we'll send that to them as a gift. And we try to send it as soon as we see that so that it's one of the first gifts that they get. And then usually they'll post a picture of it on Facebook and say, look at the cool gift my realtor sent me, and they'll tag me. And then that way all their friends and family get to see what their realtor did. We also have those poop bag dog holders that we send out that have branded information on them. So if they are announcing that they got a dog, we'll send that to them, because oftentimes then they want to buy a house, right? They want a yard because they don't want to have to take that dog for walks in a condo building. So again, that's a great milestone moment that can cause their housing needs to change. So think about, we send flowers if somebody's getting a divorce or they've had a death in the family. We'll send congratulation cards if we find out they got a new job, so have a systematized gift program for any time somebody has a major milestone moment in their life. You can also do Facebook ads. I have found the best Facebook ads are content ads. So 5 reasons your house didn't sell, 5 tips to get your house ready, free money for home buyers, what Dirk talked about. And then I'll have that click through to my website where they can read more information on that topic. So really think about being different with your ads, providing useful content rather than just your picture. For AdWorks, that's the only thing I do with my picture because I want them to remember I'm a realtor, but everything else we do is very content heavy, okay? So another place we get business from is census data. So if you go to the census, you can find where people in your marketplace are moving from to come to your area, okay? And then we'll reach out, like in Chicago, most people are coming from New York and San Francisco because it's a cheaper market. And I love those people, right? Because, a $600,000 condo in, Chicago is 2 to 3 bedrooms, and that's like a studio apartment in New York City. So they get to Chicago and they're like, it's all so cheap. And I'm like, great, buy 3 of them, right? So, figure out where your people are coming from and then reach out to top realtors in that market and start to create a relationship with them. What you have to do though is keep it an ongoing relationship, because I get emails all the time from realtors in Arizona and realtors in Florida in particular who are like, hey, we'll pay you a 25% referral fee if you have somebody moving here. And then I never hear from them again. So there's an agent in California named Dawn Thomas, and she has a great newsletter. It comes out, I think it's once a month, and she basically sends out tips for realtors to help grow their business. And so she'll, it has like 2 tips in it a month or something, and she'll find, a cool client gift she found that she's sending out, or a cool client event she's doing, or something like that. And so I look forward to getting those emails because they're ideas to help me grow my business. And now I vividly remember her name, even though I've never sent her a referral in the past. So if I ever had a client in her area, I would send it to Dawn Thomas in California because she sends me great content about growing my business. So think about, if you're going to do this, you have to stay in contact with them regularly and have some sort of newsletter. You can also think about, like I'm trying to create right now a website movingoutofchicago.com, because we have more people leaving Chicago than we have coming in. You guys probably have more people coming to your market than you have leaving. So think about, moving to, whatever market you work in, the name of your city, et cetera, and having it be information about, as somebody who, I just moved to Denver a couple weeks ago. I don't know anything about Denver, right? I would love a website like that where I can learn about different neighborhoods. I can find out where to go apple picking with my kid and go pumpkin picking, all of that kind of stuff. So, think about how you could have a website like that. and then, when COVID ever ends, go to conferences in those markets. I speak in Nashville every year because we have a lot of back and forth business from Nashville to Chicago. And so I always get business from that, so think about going to those markets and going to some conferences in those markets like bar camps. Somebody asked, I'm sending out a video of this. We're going to send a recording out of it. So the association will send that out. And then I am also going to post these slides on my Facebook page after this is done. So it's Shay Hata, real estate speaker and coach. They'll be posted there so you can download them. And I'll also post the morning sessions slides as well. All right, so Instagram. So I am not a big social media person other than my Facebook group. So I have been resisting this for years, but my team members get so much business from Instagram. It is ridiculous. So I've had to get on the Instagram bandwagon. So more people are moving off of Facebook than are moving onto it. And a lot of them are moving to Instagram, right? Less fighting, it's just pretty pictures, etc. So if you're new to Instagram, I would check out Ann Jones. She's from Tacoma, Washington. She goes by Tacoma Jones. She has a fantastic Instagram page that I highly recommend. She posts a lot of not just photos, but also videos. So she'll go to like a coffee shop and she'll post a little, video of it and say, hey, this great coffee shop is right down from my new listing. Check it out. So she does a lot of things like that. She says not to go longer than 48 hours in between posts. You have to have high quality photos. And one of the interesting things I learned from my husband is that the vast majority of people are watching videos, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, etc., on mute because they're watching them when they shouldn't be watching them, like during Zoom meetings, when they're in the bathroom, when they're at their kids' sports practice, etc., right? So they're watching them on mute. So you have to caption your videos for them to be effective. So rev.com is a great place to do captioning. It's only $1 a minute, so it's very affordable. And really, your videos probably shouldn't be more than a minute, so it probably should just cost you $1. So you need to make sure you're captioning, closed captioning, all of those videos that you have online, okay? And definitely use Instagram stories. I have this new agent on my team who I brought on when I moved to Denver. She's been with me 8 weeks and she's killing it. I think she has like 12 people under contract so far and like 10 people that she's working with. And almost all of her clients are coming from Instagram. Like they're people in her sphere. And what she does is she posts multiple times a day. So anytime she goes to a showing, she takes a quick photo or a video of it and she posts it. She'll stop by open houses on the weekend and take videos of them. So it looks like she's showing properties and she'll post them online. On Friday night, she was writing up an offer. She took a picture of that and said, my favorite thing to do on Friday night, write up an offer. And she posted that on that. And it's so funny because I see these referrals come in from for her. And people are like, oh my gosh, Lauren's a top realtor. She's so busy, yada, yada. And I'm like laughing to myself thinking, oh my gosh, she's been doing this for 8 weeks. But she looks really busy because she is posting constantly on Facebook stories and Instagram stories like 4 to 5 times a day. So it makes her look like she's an incredibly busy realtor, even though she's a newer realtor. So somebody asked the name of the closed caption app. It's rev.com. I'll type that in here, rev.com for closed captioning. And then more detail on how they capture Instagram leads. So she's really not capturing Instagram leads. People are just reaching out to her because they're seeing her post so often. And she posts really pretty stuff, so like anytime she's out in front of a house, if it's a nice looking house, she'll do a quick little video of it. And she does a lot of polls. So you can do polls on Instagram and Facebook. So you can say like, love or hate this kitchen. And she's found by doing polls and asking questions that people have to respond to, she's able to have a lot of interaction with them that way. And so I think she has like 2,000 or 3,000 Instagram followers now just by doing that. It's just crazy how it works. Her name is Lauren Calderon. So if you look at her, you have to follow her on stories because that's where she posts everything. She doesn't post it really on the page itself. So if you go to her page, it looks like a travel page because she has all these vacations she went on. But if you follow her stories, that's where she posts tons of stuff. All right, so these are kind of the best times to post on Instagram. Oh, let me go back. So it's interesting because I find, it's really early in the morning and late at night tend to be the best times to post, and then occasionally kind of right during that lunch hour. So, it makes sense from a perspective of, when people aren't working necessarily. This graphic came out pre-COVID, so I don't know that this is totally accurate still with COVID. My guess is that people are kind of looking all the time now during the day because we're all working from home, and so we're not as closely monitored. But I would keep in mind, post at least every 48 hours, and Lauren has the best success. She posts multiple times a day. All right, so another tool, if you have a website, I would highly recommend getting Drift. So drift.com is basically the chat box that comes up in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. And what I like about Drift is you can basically set an away message. So I find it's really hard to lead generate on a website. Like, it's hard to capture those leads. And since we started using Drift, it makes a big difference. So somebody will, can type in a question. And if you can't be there to answer it, you can basically say, hey, so sorry, we're in showings right now. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. And it captures their email address. And so you can get back to them later. So I have found that has really helped our conversion rate for those of you who do have your own websites. First is another great tool. So First basically tracks people's spending and things online, seeing what they're searching for online to start to figure out who's thinking about potentially selling in the future. So you really know who to focus on and who to reach out to. So again, if I were a new agent, really cost conscious, I wouldn't spend money on that. If you're a busier agent or you have a team, it's a good tool to look into to use. Then client appreciation events. So, these are hard, right? These are harder when it's COVID. So I'm going to kind of, talk about pre-COVID client appreciation events and post-COVID client appreciation events. Somebody just asked, does it work free with our website from brokerage? It's probably not. You need your own website that you control the whole thing, because your brokerage website isn't going to allow 50 different drifts on it. All right, so client events. So when things go back to normal, these are the events that I recommend. So, when you're just starting out, I think it's hard to do events because you don't want to have a situation where you have an event and you've invited all these people, or you maybe don't have that many people to invite because you're a new agent and you have 2 people show up and it looks really not great, right? So when I was a new agent, I like to do smaller group type of events. And so one of the things that was most successful for us was every Valentine's Day, we do a Valentine's Day blowout party. So we rent out a hair salon. We invite all of our female clients to come. And the key to this for lead generating is invite them to bring a friend with them who who they think might need to buy or sell sometime in the near future, right? Because then it's more fun for the client, and you have an opportunity to meet a new potential client as well, and they have a chance to chat and get their hair done. So we would rent out a hair salon. We paid $35 per blowout. Again, I always had sponsors, so my cost was really $12 per person. We would have champagne, we'd have cookies, my husband and my son would come, they would pour champagne for everybody, my son would go around, and give out cookies. I like to make these things a family event because I find if clients like you, they're more likely to refer you out to other people, right? And especially if they can get to know your family, then, I always tell them, thank you for referring me out. You're helping me save money to send my son Oliver to college. I didn't have that as a kid, right? We didn't have a lot of money. My parents didn't have money to send me to college. My mom didn't, right? So I appreciate you giving me this referral because it allows me to save money to send my kid to college. And that's huge to me, right? I say those things to my clients on a regular basis, right? So I think it's really important that they get to know you, that they get to know your family. So whenever we do events, they are family affairs, right? I have no problem pimping my kid out, to hand out cookies at these events, right? To bring me more business. And I like to get to know their families, we become friends. I want to know them. I want to know their kids. I want to know their parents, right? I want to know all those people. So it's nice to just have that interaction. So we'll do the blowout event. We always have a professional photographer there. We have groups of 10 women who come, they get their hair blown out. We take professional pictures, which we then post on Facebook and tag them. So it's just a really nice, fun event. We also do a lot of small group activities. So especially when I only had a couple clients, I would go to that client and I would say, hey, I want to thank you so much for using me as your realtor. I would love to throw like a little thank you event for you and some friends. Here's a menu of options. Pick an event, invite 9 friends and we'll go out and we'll have a good time. And I would essentially do that as their client gift instead of a regular client gift, right? And really it was a lead generation tool for me. So I would give them options like we can all go to a high-end driving range like Topgolf. We can go to iFly. We can go to bad axe throwing. We can go get manis and petties, we can go, kind of whatever is popular in your area, have that option for them and then have them invite, 4 friends, 10 friends, whatever. Again, usually what I would do is I would go to their lender and say, hey, can you split the cost of this with me and come to the event? And that way we can cut the costs. And so, it would end up being like $10 a person or something. And for that $100, I got to meet 9 of their friends. And usually those friends down the line turned into my clients going forward. I also had season tickets to a lot of theaters and sporting events, and so I would email those out to people if I couldn't go and give those away. We always did like a spring Christmas photo shoot. So we would do one in the spring where we'd find like a cool mural in town and we'd have our photographer come and everybody would come and they would do like 5-10 minute mini sessions and they'd get a great photo of their family for free, and then we'd do the same thing in fall for Christmas. I would put together volunteer events and I would, ask everybody to come and we're going to go pack food for the homeless, whatever it is. And, that didn't cost me anything, but it was just a nice way to connect with my clients, especially if it was something they could bring their kids to, because I found that, it's really hard to find events, volunteer events that you can bring your children to, especially young children. So, those were a great way for us all to get together. Somebody asked, Raquel asked, when you hold those at small events with client friends, do you ask for their email addresses or contact info? Nope. So I ask the client to invite their friends and just tell me how many people are going to show up. And then usually I get their email address afterwards and I send them a thank you for coming, was kind of how I did it. So once you have more clients, then you can do bigger events. So every December, we're not doing it this year because of COVID, but every December we always rent out a movie theater. So we always do, we actually do it twice. Usually we do an adult film. So like we've done Star Wars for a bunch of years and Top Gun and things like that. And so we would have all of our, our families come and we would invite them to bring another family with them. And then we always do once a year a kid friendly movie. And we invite all of our families to come with their young kids. And again, bring another family with them. And it's a great way to lead generate. I always pick up business from those. That one's our most expensive event. That one, I think we pay $10. We do it through like Regal movie theater. And I think we pay $10 a ticket. And then we give them out, each person who comes, a $10 gift card to the concessions. So it ends up being about $20 a person. Again, we always have 2 sponsors. So my cost ends up being like $6 a person. I think I spend like $800 on that event, something like that. The key to that event I have found is make sure the movie theater knows to, after the previews, before the movie starts, turn the video off and turn the lights on so you can go up and thank everyone for coming. We usually do a raffle for a prize. And what we do is we'll have raffle tickets, and on the raffle ticket, they have to fill out contact information for somebody who they think could use our services. And then that's their entry form into the raffle. And so we are able to lead generate a lot with that. But the first time I did the movie theater event, I thought I would thank everyone afterwards. And that was so stupid of me because the previews are going. And so by the time the previews ended, everybody was gone. So make sure you thank them all before the movie starts. But that's a really fun event. And I like that because I just have to talk to them for like 2 minutes and then we all get to sit down and watch a movie. So it's a nice way to do it. We also do a Thanksgiving pie pickup. We're still going to do that with COVID this year. We're just going to do it outside of our office and everybody can drive up. We're going to hand them a pie through the car windshield and off they go. We always do an indoor kid-friendly play event during the winter. So we rent an indoor kid-friendly place. Maybe there you want to do it in the summer when it's really hot. And we invite all of our families to come. Again, they bring another family with them. So, that's really the key to these events is we always invite them to bring somebody else to them. And then we'll do like a VIP dinner party, right? So we've had to change things up a bit with COVID, right? So somebody asked, what's the condition of the raffle? So each entry form for the raffle, they have to write down somebody who they think could use our services and give us that person's name and email address. That's their ticket into the raffle. And then what we do is then after the event, we write to that client and we say, hey, thanks so much for filling out our raffle form. You thought that, Dan, so-and-so would be a good fit for us to meet. Would you mind making an introduction to him for us? Because we find if they do the introduction, it's much more effective than us reaching out and saying, hey, you know, Julia Bruce thought we would be a good fit for you, right? So it's really key to have them make that introduction. So these are what we're doing now with COVID. So we're planning our events for all of next year. So we just spent the last month doing porch photos. So we hired a photographer. It was $20 a family. Again, we split that with a lender. And we basically had the photographer show up and do socially distanced porch photos. So they were 5-minute sessions on their front porch. They would take the photos and then they get one free digital photo. And then if they want to buy more photos from the photographer, they can, but they get the one for free and they don't have to purchase anything. So this has been a huge hit. Our clients have loved it. I feel like it's very COVID friendly to keep everybody safe. We've had tons of clients posting it on their Facebook page, tagging us, saying, you know, look at the cool things our realtor has done. You know, we also done a driving range outing. Again, I feel like that's very safe. It's outside. People can socially distance, you know, so we pay for the balls and, you know, and a drink for them, etc. A friend of mine did a cooking class via Zoom. So he basically had like kits made up of food for this cooking class that he dropped off at everybody's house who wanted to participate. He hired a chef. Everybody logged onto Zoom and they learned how to make this professional meal from a professional chef, right? We'll still do our spring Christmas photo shoot. We're going to work with an apple orchard and have our clients all come on one day, and we're going to pay for them to go do apple picking. Somebody asked about the porch photos. It's at the client's location. So it's at their home on their front porch of their home. You know, we're also doing the same thing with a pumpkin patch. So our clients can come on a certain Saturday from, you know, 2 to 4 and come pick a free pumpkin and we'll pay for it, right? So, you know, even with COVID, I think there are still a lot of ways you can do client events that keep everybody safe and make everybody feel comfortable. Some friends of mine, I know they're going to do trick-or-treating in their front yard, Easter egg style. So they're going to put together basically candy and put it everywhere and invite kids to come in small groups and do trick-or-treating in their front yard, since Halloween's been canceled in so many locations, right? So, or you could do that at a park, right? You know, so I think there are still a lot of things you can do. You know, you can also do Christmas tree and wreath pickup. So my husband used to do this when he was a realtor, and it was very successful. This was actually his brokerage would organize it, and they would get a crazy discount on Christmas trees because they ordered so many for everybody in the brokerage. So I think he paid like $15 a Christmas tree. And they were big, beautiful, you know, like 6-foot, 7-foot Christmas trees. His clients would come, they would donate some toys for tots. In exchange, he would give them a free Christmas tree or a wreath. And they hired the Boy Scouts to come tie them on the cars. Everybody would come in and get a picture taken with Santa. You know, so I think that, you know, you can adapt those, have Santa outside to wave while they pick up their Christmas tree, right? You can still do a lot of these things safely. And then again, we're doing the Thanksgiving pie pickup. So somebody asked, how do you have them RSVP? So we always, we pick 5 different flavors of pies, and I don't like to get the pies at Costco. The pies at Costco are fantastic, right? Hands down, they're really good pies. But I feel like for $5 a pie, like I need to give them something nicer than that, and they can go to Costco and pick their own pie. So we work with a bakery. It's more expensive. We pay $20 a pie, but again, we split that cost with 2 other people, so we pay $6.50 or something a pie. And so we send that invitation out in early October with 5 different pie flavor choices. They get to pick one, so they RSVP by picking their flavor. And then we have them come by our office the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. They can come by anytime from 4 to 6:30 p.m. And they're literally going to drive up. We'll have the list of which pie they want and we hand it to them. So that's how we do it. And then we have, and I think I put a picture in here. Let me go forward. Let me see if there we go. So this is our invitation for that pie event. So we send them like an Evite, essentially with a link to fill out which pie they want. And then on the box, we put a big sticker that says Happy Thanksgiving, Buy, Sell, Love, Chicago. And if we have sponsors, we'll put the sponsor information on them as well. Because usually they're taking that pie to somebody's house, right? So we want to get that advertising, you know, when they go to that person's house. So make sure like it's sticky on the box. They cannot take it off, right? And so we have our in-house marketing team create, you know, any collateral that we need. That's one of the reasons I picked my brokerage, is that they'll create free marketing materials for me. So I just go to them and say, hey, you know, I need this is our logo, which they created. you know, I need something for a pie box. Can you make it? And they'll make it and they'll print it out, right? So your brokerage should be doing those kinds of things for you. All right, so let me go back for a second. Okay, so, you know, brokerage level, I would go talk to your brokerage. Like, I am very insistent that my brokerage do brokerage level events, right? That everybody can participate in, because then you get economies of scale and you can do things like the Christmas tree pickup because it's much cheaper because they're buying 400 trees, right? Where you cannot get that same kind of discount yourself as one individual agent. So, you know, even with COVID, they can do these things safely, you know, so talk to your brokerage, demand that they do things like this, right? I always, you know, remind my coaching clients, your brokerage works for you, not the other way around, you know, so they need to be doing things that help support and grow your business. If they're not, look for a different brokerage, in my opinion. All right, so some client appreciation event tips. You know, part of the beauty of client events is that it's not just the actual event, it's just the act of inviting them. They're seeing your name constantly and knowing you do all these cool things, right? So send an evite out 6 weeks in advance, you know, send a reminder out 2 weeks in advance, because I find, especially if you're doing evites, sometimes they go into people's spam. So, you know, we'll text everybody a week after we send that evite out and say, hey, you know, we just want to make sure that you got our evite for our pumpkin pie event. If you didn't get it for some reason, let me know and I'll email it to you. You know, so then send an email out. So the nice thing is you have an opportunity to connect with them 3 or 4 times before every event for all of these, you know, all of these event reminders that are going out. Anybody who hasn't RSVP'd, my assistant calls them 2 days before the event just to check in with them and, you know, see if they're coming, etc. We talked about have those referral partners sponsor the events to keep your costs down. Have a professional photographer at each event, you know, so this year with COVID, like, we're not going to do it for our Thanksgiving pie pickup, but, you know, for some of your other events, I think it's still appropriate to do that. And then we put those on Facebook and we tag them so that all their friends and family can see what we did. You know, when you're doing in-person events, have name tags so people can get to know each other. Obviously, we're not doing that with COVID. The big lesson I learned from events over the years is hire staff to work the event. You know, as I've gotten busier, you know, I was trying to get people drinks and take their coat, and I didn't have a chance to just chat with people. And really, my job is to chat with people when I'm at the events, get to know them, see how they're doing, how are they liking their house, how can I help them, right? And I can't do that if I'm running around checking people in. So hire some high school kids to do those things for you so you can really focus on building that relationship with your clients. And then, you know, either have everybody bring people, or if you don't have enough money to do that, have your VIP guests, invite them to bring some friends with them so that you can really work on growing that business. So again, this is an example of our pie pickup invitation that we did one year, and then the logo that went on there. This is my husband being cheeky one year. So we always have a big sign that we have out at every event so that anybody else who is walking by can see the type of, you know, of events that we do as realtors. And this is an example of our Valentine's Day blowout. So it's super easy, super casual, etc. for us to do those events. So do you, somebody asked, you do not gift any funds, instead gift at the events pies. Yeah, I mean, I don't gift any money to anybody. We give them gifts like events and pies. And, you know, my feeling is that it's really advertising because we're asking them to bring friends with them. So it's a marketing and advertising expense because it's how we get new clients. We're asking them to bring other potential clients with them. Somebody asked, can I show the pie invitation again? Yep. There you go. So I think this one we did on paperless post, if I recall. Usually now we just do them on Evite to keep our costs down because our invite list has gotten so ridiculously big. So usually we buy like a couple hundred pies every year. We have the pie company deliver them to our office. All right. This is some examples from last year's indoor family play place that we did, you know, so really think about your clientele. Like, what kind of clients do you have? What are going to be events that are going to be of interest to them, right? Like, most of my clients are people with young kids. So for me, it makes sense to do a lot of family events. Like, maybe you have retirees, you know, so you're going to want to do a different type of event for them, you know, do something more fun and social, you know, do bocce or, you know, whatever you want to do that they're going to like, right? So really gear it towards your particular clientele. Okay, so some other things that you can do would be online classes. So An example on the left is an invitation that we did for a class basically about people with kids who wanted to move or who were pregnant and wanted to move and buy a place. Like, what do you look for, you know, especially in Chicago? You know, you want a good sized yard, you want something that doesn't have a lot of steps. You know, we had an expert come in and talk about the school districts, right? We can't talk about that as realtors. That's not our area of expertise, you know, but we can have an expert come in and talk about all the different school districts, right? So, you know, get creative with the events that you're doing. One on the right was one we did about how to appeal your property taxes and how to understand your property tax bill. And we probably had, I don't know, 30 or 40 people show up to that. We had a tax attorney and you know, an appeal attorney come and talk about that, right? And this was an event I did when I was brand new. I didn't have very many clients. So I partnered up with, I think, 3 other realtors, and we all did this event together. And that way, if we only had 2 or 3 people come, it didn't matter, because between the 4 of us, it looked like it was a good event with, you know, 15 or 20 people. So when I was a newer agent, I regularly partnered up on client events. Like, I didn't have enough clients in the beginning to rent out a movie theater. So I'd partner with 2 other people, and we'd all invite our clients. And, you know, we'd kind of, you know, grab our clients independently and thank them for coming. They didn't need to know that all these people weren't my clients, right? It made us look much busier than we were, and it kept our costs down at a time when we were all really pretty new to real estate. So, you know, I don't think it's a bad thing to partner up with other realtors and do client appreciation events together, and your clients don't need to know that you're doing that. So we've always done client contests, you know, in particular, I'm really glad we'll be able to do them this year. So one of the things we do is a Santa letter. So what we do is every early November, we create a Google form that parents can fill out. Essentially the name of their child, what their child wants for Christmas, have they been naughty, have they been nice, you know, some names of friends, etc. And then we mail merge them into the letter that you see on the right, which basically looks like it's a letter that comes from Santa. So we print those all out. My assistant signs them all from Santa. We put them in red envelopes. We address them. And then you can actually send them to the postal store or the mail location in the North Pole, and they will stamp them with a North Pole stamp, and then they will send them back to the kids. So it looks like it came from Santa in the North Pole. So especially, you know, if you have, even if you don't have people with families, grandparents love to fill these out for their kids, you know. So if you work with a lot of retirees, I would still do something like this because they can fill it out for their grandkids, right? And all it costs you is probably $1 per letter when you figure out, you know, the cost of the stamp and the, you know, the postage and the envelope and stuff. It's not very expensive, but it's just a nice, fun thing that you can do for your clients. You know, this year with COVID, we're going to do color a pumpkin contest, color an Easter bunny, right? And then usually we'll give away like $25 gift cards to, you know, the Disney store or whatever the kid wants, you know, to kind of the winner. And we'll do different categories, like a 3 to 5 category and a 6 to 8 category and a 9 above category, something like that, right? So think about how you can get creative with how you do this stuff. So Teresa asked, before I was able to expand and get assistance, how many of these did you do regularly by yourself the first 3 years you were ramping up? So I've always done client events. It was more doing them as client appreciation events instead of closing gifts in the beginning. So I did those. And then what else? I've always done client gifts, which we'll get to in a second. I mean, really, for the most part, I've always done these, even from the beginning, because in the beginning, I didn't have as many clients. So I wasn't as busy. So I could do these, right? So to me, this was what I focused my time and attention on, because this is what brought me clients, as opposed to, you know, Zillow leads and things like that, that to me, that didn't have a very good ROI. So I've always thought it's a priority to do all this stuff. If you are an individual, it would be a very good idea to divide and conquer with another agent or sponsor. Absolutely, that's what I definitely did in the beginning. Somebody else, Sandra asked, is there a Santa letter website you use? I don't, we just made this up. So I can post a copy of this on my Facebook page if you guys want to take a look at it, and then just, you know, adapt it for whatever you want to see. But yeah, we just made them up. And we just, so each year we do change the letter, because typically our kids, you know, get this letter from us every single year because our parents fill it out every year. So we want it to look different every year. So we do always change the letter up constantly each year. All right. So this is a copy of the promotion that we do. So we send it out. We do put it on Facebook for the Santa letters. And we send it out to everybody in our sphere, but then we also use it as a lead generation tool. And so we will boost this post and send it out to people so that we can get additional leads, basically, to put in our email database list. And then we'll put them on AdWorks and, you know, put them in our CRM so they start to get our campaign and stuff like that. So, you know, it's super cheap. We usually spend, this one we spent $20. We had 25 additional people fill out that letter. So it was like $1 per person for additional leads. And maybe they don't turn into anything, you know, but for me, it's so cheap, you might as well try it, right? All right. Will I post the Santa letter request form? Yeah, I don't know if it's active. I'll look and see. I don't know if it stays active for the whole year or if it's only active when we're actually, I'm pretty sure actually my assistant closes it because we have a certain deadline they have to apply for, usually December 1st, and then she has to close it after that because then we can't get letters out to people. It's too late. So I don't think that link is live. So here's some examples from other years that we've done for Santa letters, you know, so make them look different every year, or at least have different text in them every single year. Another thing that we do is we do ornaments. So for any of our clients who buy a home with us, we do these home for the holidays ornaments. So you get them from mpix.com. They start at $10 per ornament. The more you order, the cheaper they are. I think now we pay like $6 an ornament or $7 an ornament because we order so many, something like that. And they're really nice metal, like they're actual kind of thick metal ornaments. So they last a long time. They say home for the holidays in the year that they purchased the home. And then what we do routinely, as soon as a property closes, part of our workflow is it automatically sends out an email to the listing agent after the property closes, explaining that we create an ornament for our clients for Christmas. Would that listing agent be willing to send us a high quality, you know, high resolution photo of the exterior of the property that they bought so that we can use that to make this ornament for the holidays? So, you know, rarely do we ever have anybody who says no to that because we're not using it for, you know, advertising. We just want to create an ornament for our clients. And so we send those in usually like November 1st is when we'll order all of those. So we get them back before Thanksgiving. And then we'll send them in a Thanksgiving card out the day before Thanksgiving so that they can get them right after Thanksgiving and put them on their tree and enjoy them for the whole holiday season. So, you know, it's just a nice little remembrance every year when they put it on their tree of you. And again, it's not super expensive. On the right, so I don't have an example of ours in here, but this was somebody else in my office who had our office create this adorable Christmas card a couple of years ago. And I thought it was so cute. So I asked them if I could rip off the idea. And I had our marketing department create something similar for me that has our information on it. And we send that out. So we do brand the back of the ornament. Yeah, so it's just got it's got our website address on it. All right. So pop buys. So I'm also a big fan of doing pop buys. So if you follow Brian Buffini, he does pop buys. No offense to Brian, I love him dearly. He's a very kind person, but I think his pop buys are kind of cheesy. I think you need to give something that is substantial as a pop buy. So like during COVID, I mean, it was so depressing, at least in our market in like March and April, right? It felt like the world was ending, especially, you know, the day Tom Hanks got sick and everybody got sick and it was like, what is happening? And so we decided we just needed to do a pop buy to like cheer everybody up because it literally felt like the world was ending. So we realized that the Girl Scouts hadn't been able to sell their Girl Scout cookies for the most part because everything was shut down. So we had Girl Scout troops that had hundreds of boxes of cookies that they didn't know how to sell. So we found a troop and basically said, look, you know, we will buy hundreds of boxes of cookies from you if you will deliver them to our clients' houses for us. And they were like, yes, great. So we sent an email out to all of our clients and said, we're going to drop off 3 boxes of Girl Scout cookies. Let us know what kind of cookies you want. Here's the list. And then they're going to get dropped off sometime this weekend. And so it was nice. I mean, it was $5 a box. So it was like $15 a client. The Girl Scouts dropped them all off for us. So it was a win-win. They got rid of their cookies. I didn't have to drive around and drop off Girl Scout cookies. And it was just a nice pick-me-up for our clients during kind of a depressing time for people, right? So, you know, these are some other ideas of things that you can do. You know, we're only doing a couple of these, but you know, you can do holiday cookie decorating. I have coaching clients who are going to drop off like little packs of holiday cookies with frosting for their, you know, kids to decorate, gingerbread kits. I have one client who's going to do mini caramel apple kits. I have another who's dropping off mini pumpkins. I have another who is having their office do that. And so then their client can come by and get a pumpkin, a mini pumpkin from their office. I love the idea of dropping off like a Redbox movie gift card for $1 with a microwave popcorn outside their door, or an iTunes gift card to rent a movie. You know, I think if I had thought about this, I would have dropped off on the first day of back to school a bottle of wine for the parents, because I don't know about your market, but in my market, it was a shit show having online Zoom classes all day. And every parent I know was heavily drinking that night because it was just horrible for all of us, right? So like, I should have dropped off bottles of wine to all my parents, being like, oh my gosh, that was awful. We survived day one. Now start drinking, right? You know, so think about what you can do. You know, I think birthdays are so hard this year for so many people with COVID, you know, so go put some birthday balloons on their mailbox outside. You know, I'm going to hire Santa and do Zoom calls. So I'm going to have all my clients with kids sign up for a Zoom call to get to talk to Santa this year, because I don't know if we're going to be able to see Santa in person, right? Brian Copeland, who's a dear friend of mine in Nashville, he's doing inflatable drive-in movie theater. So he's rented all this equipment and he's going to set it up. Remember, if you're going to do that, you have to license the movie. And he's going to do a drive-in movie theater, or you can rent. I know some other people who are renting a drive-in movie theater, right? If you have an area that you work kind of that whole neighborhood, hire Christmas carolers, send them door to door in that neighborhood, right? Drop off poinsettias. I mean, I think there are a ton of pop buys that you can do. And again, you can partner with people to keep these costs lower, right? So, you know, we typically do one pop buy a quarter. You know, so we did the Girl Scout cookies in the spring. You know, we'll do something else this fall. A lot of times too, we've just sent Starbucks gift cards to people in the fall, kind of our VIPs, and said, you know, it's getting colder outside. Here's a little something to warm you up, and we'll send them a $5 Starbucks gift card, you know, or we'll do like a cupcake to, or a coupon to a cupcake, you know, little local cupcake chain in the spring, so they can stop by and get a cupcake. In the January, we always send New Year's cards with lottery tickets, and we say, we hope you have a prosperous new year, you know, and that costs us $1 for the lottery ticket, right? But it's just kind of a fun thing to do, you know. So think about things that you can do that are not too expensive, that are actual, you know, pop buys, or things that you mail that are of consequence. Like, nobody wants a pen, right? They want something that, you know, cupcake. Who doesn't want a cupcake, you know, or a Girl Scout cookie, or, you know, whatever, you know. And then think about, in addition, the communications that you're sending out to people, right? So you should be communicating with your past clients regularly. We have, through our RealVolve CRM, we have, I think it's a 7-year campaign that goes out to our past clients once a month. And so these are some examples of some of the things that we send out. So this is a, you know, summer home maintenance checklist graphic that we send to all of our clients via email. In the summertime, we have one for fall, winter, and spring, right? You know, to keep their house in good shape. Again, this is something my marketing department custom creates for me for free, right? That's one of the benefits of my brokerage. You know, in addition to that, we will send them out. Somebody asked for birthdays and home anniversaries. Yeah, so for birthdays, we send them a birthday card. For home anniversaries, the first year every year we send them a card. The first year we send them a $25 gift card to the local like liquor store chain in town, saying, you know, go celebrate, you've made it a year, you know, kind of a thing. And we also send them a CMA so they know what their house is worth. We used to do that. Now with HomeBot, we don't send the CMAs anymore because they're getting those monthly, right? So think about, you should be emailing them every single month with helpful content, okay? So you can do home maintenance checklists, remember, you know, reminders to pay their property taxes, reminders to appeal their taxes. You know, if the state comes out with a new program, you know, things like that, we send them out, you know, in the spring, you know, hey, it's going to be really cold today. Make sure you cover your plants so they don't die. You know, in the winter time, if it's going to be below 0, we'll send them a note saying, hey, make sure your pipes don't freeze. This is what you need to do. So, you know, think of seasonal things, but then also think of weather related things. Because especially if you guys have people moving to Arizona, you know, like we just moved to Denver. I've never had an in-ground sprinkler system. I have no idea what to do with these things. And apparently you have to winterize it. I don't know this stuff. We live in Chicago. We don't have these things, right? So like send out those notices to be like, hey, you should be calling the sprinkler company now to winterize your sprinkler system. You know what I mean? So, you know, I would just, you know, think of those kind of seasonal things that maybe, especially people who are moving from out of town, don't know what to do, you know? All right. Then, Let's go to the next one. Some other things that we do. So I actually stole this idea from Town and Parish, which is a brokerage in Louisiana, and they know I stole this idea. I asked if I could steal it first. With this, what we do is we basically have these doormats that go outside of our listings, and they just welcome everybody into our listings, and then they have our website address at the bottom. So again, it's just about being different and having your branding be in kind of unexpected places. All right. Let's go to the next one. All right. So another thing we do is key bags. So I hated that when we would go to like final walkthroughs and closings and things like that, people would give out keys, like sellers would leave keys in like Ziploc bags. It just feels so gross to me, right? Like you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're so excited to be buying this new home and you get this tattered Ziploc bag of keys, right? And I was like, there has to be a better way. So from Amazon, we ordered these key bags. They're just little burlap bags that fit keys in the garage door openers. And so now, whether we're representing the buyer or the seller, we make sure the keys go in there. We had these little welcome home tags made and we put them on the outside of it. And again, it has our branding on it. So we give those, you know, whether we're representing the buyer or the seller, to the buyer. So now it's just kind of a fun way to get their keys. It cost me, I don't know, $1.25 or something. But again, it has our branding, right? So it's just about kind of doing unexpected things that are a little bit different. You know, so at the end of the day, we're going to end a little bit early. At the end of the day, it's really about loving on your clients and they will love on you. If you treat them all like VIPs, they will remember you, they will thank you for it, and they will send you a ton of referral business. I think the key really is treat your prospective clients like people, not leads. I hate the term lead generation, even though I use it. Like they're not leads, they're people, right? And they have dreams and hopes and they're so excited to buy these houses, you know, and then they're so disappointed when it doesn't happen, right? So understand that, treat them the way that you would want to be treated and treat everybody the same, right? And really think about how can you be different from the realtor sitting next to you, right? I look for examples for my business outside of the real estate industry. I look to see what people like Zappos and Amazon are doing and Apple and Google. Like, how are they making it a different experience for their clients? Like, for instance, on the buy side, you know, when Uber first came out, I was so impressed. I would get in, there'd be a bottle of water, it'd be so clean, et cetera. So now before COVID, when we did showings with people, we have bottled water in our car. We have their favorite snacks because we have them fill out a form so we can find out what their favorite snack is, right? We try to make our showings more of an Uber experience than a taxi experience, right? So look at what other industries are doing and see how you can incorporate those into your business to make it more of a concierge level of service that you're providing rather than a basic level of service, right? And remember, don't be desperate, be honest, be straightforward. My husband always likes to joke, people can smell realtor breath, right? People can smell when you're desperate to make a deal happen and nobody wants that, right? I tell my clients all the time, don't pay that price. Like you're overpaying, or like, this is not a great house. Like walk away, we'll find you something better, right? And people appreciate that honesty and that straightforwardness. And remember that this is a relationship. This is not a transaction. If you conduct it like a transaction, you will not get a ton of referral business. If you treat it like an ongoing lifelong relationship, you will be that person's lifelong realtor and you will become their friends and their family's lifelong realtor. So treat it that way. Remember, you have to do what's best for the next 30 years, not what's best for the next week, right? Really be authentic. And then say thank you, to your clients regularly. I regularly say to them, thank you for putting a roof over my family's head. Thank you for allowing me to put food on my table. Thank you for allowing me to put money into my son's college fund. I didn't have that security growing up. And so I can't tell you how much I appreciate your trust in me, that you would refer me to your mom. That speaks the world to me. And I just want to say thank you. People feel when you're being authentic. So thank your clients and be authentic about it. And remember your why and market that why. For me, it's, being able to give back to charity and being able to provide financially for my family. And I market that and I talk to people about that. So that is all I have for you guys for today. Please put questions in the chat box if you haven't already, and I will answer them. Somebody asked, what size are the burlap bags? Gosh, I don't know. I mean, they're like maybe this big. They're probably the size of, I I don't know, cup maybe like 4 inches by 6 inches or something like that, I would say. They're big enough to fit garage door openers in them, because that was my thing. I was like, I need to be able to fit 2 garage door openers in this and a whole bunch of keys, right? So we just got those on Amazon. I want to say they're like $1 a piece or $2 a piece. They're not very expensive, so you can check them out there. Let me see other. Can I talk about how I introduced HomeBot after the code? Are you talking about the code of ethics? Oh, hold on, you're on mute.
Close of escrow, COE,
oh,
close of escrow, sorry.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I mean, so basically what I just do is I tell clients, so we have an email that goes out to them that says, you know, that we're setting you up on this automated program. We only do that for our buyers, right? I wouldn't do that if I was representing the seller or anything like that to the buyers. But we just say we have this automated program that's going to come out every month that's going to give you evaluation of what your home is like. And I say it's similar to the Zestimates, right? Except for we hope it's a lot more accurate than the Zestimates. You know, when I say to them, look, you know, you might be the fluky one where it comes out and your home value seems way off. If it does, tap the little button saying you want a CMA and I'll take a look at it and get it back to you on value. So we send that email out first to them before we send out the first HomeBot thing.
Right. Yeah, I've done it for past clients, just not after close of escrow. So I thought that was very interesting to do it that way. So
yeah, because I found so one thing I found about HomeBot was if I didn't put in at the time of closing for what they purchased the property for, I noticed that the value wasn't as accurate, at least in my market. And like when we first started it off, we just put their address in and we didn't put a value at all. And then the values were all over the place. So if I did it right after closing and I put the value they paid in, then I found the values were much more accurate.
Yep.
All right, let me see if we have other questions. Will Drift work on the free website from the brokerage? No, you'd have to talk to your brokerage, but most likely no, it won't work on that because your brokerage probably has a chat feature like that on their own brokerage website already. All right, any other questions? No. All right, well, we ended a little early. You guys have a little bit of time. You can answer your, someone is requesting Dawn Thomas's email. I don't know that she would particularly want me to give that out in mass to people, so I'm going to skip that one. You're welcome to look her up in, I don't think she wants to get inundated with requests from people for her newsletter, so you're welcome to look that up on your own and reach out to her if you'd like. All right, any other questions?
This has been awesome, Shay. Thank you so much. A lot of good information. So we always have fun when you're with us and learn tons of stuff. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. I will post these on Facebook right now. So just give me like maybe 10 or 15 minutes. And I will try to post all the things that I said I would post. If I forgot something, since I couldn't take notes, post it on my Facebook page and I will post it like the Santa letters. And then I know, Dina, you guys are going to send out the link at some point to everybody, right?
Yep. Yes. So we'll send out everybody. That's why I asked everybody to make sure Yvette had your name because we'll send the link. We did record it. So we will send that out and then you'll have all of that. So there was something that you really wanted to go back and listen to again, you can find that and spend some time in that area of the presentation. So
perfect. All right. Well, I think we're going to turn it off. Everybody, thank you for coming.